They told me I was crazy when I said I forgave him. I wasn't. I just needed time. I needed to let the storm pass inside me so I could see the road clearly. And now I do. It started with a dinner plate, a simple white porcelain plate, rim chipped from years of use, clattered onto the kitchen floor. Not because I dropped it, because my husband, Patrick, had thrown it across the room. Not at me, never at me. He was too smart for that. He always aimed at something near me, the wall, the sink, the floor, just enough to make me flinch. I picked it up like I always did, trying not to look at him. The first time it happened, I was 29. Now I'm 52. I know what you're thinking. Why stay? That's the question people always ask. Right after, did he ever hit you? As if bruises make the pain more real. No, he never hit me. But he broke things. Doors, plates, trust. I used to believe that if I just stayed quiet, things would go back to how they were. Back to the early years, when he brought me coffee in bed. When he wrote me little notes on Post-its and stuck them on the bathroom mirror. You're the best thing that ever happened to me. Don't forget how much I love you. Those notes stopped around year 6. I had 2 kids by then, Molly and Jacob. I stayed for them, or maybe I stayed because I didn't know how to leave. You don't wake up one morning and say, I'm going to let this man destroy my spirit for the next 20 years. It happens slowly, like a slow leak in a tire. You don't even notice you're flat until you're stranded in the middle of nowhere. But I'm not stranded anymore. It began to shift 3 years ago, when Molly moved out. She was 24, newly engaged, full of hope. She kissed me on the cheek and whispered, Mom, please don't wait forever. I smiled and told her not to worry. That night, Patrick told me Molly was ungrateful, that we'd sacrificed so much for her. I stood at the sink, washing dishes, while he talked, and I saw my face in the reflection of the window. I looked tired, older than I remembered. I looked like someone I wouldn't talk to at the grocery store. That's when I started writing things down, not a journal. I don't keep diaries. I kept a list, a long, detailed list. Every outburst, every slammed door, every time he called me stupid or needy or useless, every silent treatment that lasted days, every time he picked a fight right before we were supposed to go out, just to make me stay home. I kept receipts too, literal receipts, copies of our finances, proof of my contributions. I opened a separate bank account in my name, slowly, quietly. I wasn't going to leave empty-handed. Then Jacob came home for Christmas. He's quieter than Molly. He watches more than he speaks. And that night, while Patrick was snoring in the recliner, Jacob poured me a glass of wine and asked me, Are you okay, Mom? I nodded. He didn't believe me. He said, I don't remember you laughing much when we were growing up. That one hit me like a punch to the chest, because it was true. I had laughed a lot before I met Patrick. I used to dance in the kitchen. I used to sing in the car, and then I became someone else, someone careful. I didn't cry that night. I waited until he left. Then I sat in the bathroom and cried into a towel, because I didn't want Patrick to hear. That was the night I decided to stop surviving and start planning. I waited until after our 25th anniversary. He bought me a necklace. It looked expensive, but I knew it wasn't. I wore it anyway. I let him take me out to dinner. I let him hold my hand at the restaurant like we were still in love. I smiled for the photos. I even posted one online with the caption 25 years strong. It was a performance, like all the others, but it gave me cover. I hired a lawyer a week later. Her name was Dana. She looked at me like I was speaking a foreign language when I said I wanted to be careful. You're afraid of him, she said. I nodded. I'm afraid of what he'll do when he realizes I'm not afraid of him anymore. She understood. Dana helped me create an exit plan. Quietly, we documented everything. We got a restraining order ready to file the moment I left. We worked out the finances. She told me I could get the house. I told her I didn't want it. Too many ghosts. Then I waited. 6 months. I kept pretending, cooking dinners, laughing at his jokes, letting him think everything was normal. He had no idea. I picked a Tuesday. He had a work trip, left early in the morning, kissed me on the forehead like he always did. I waited exactly 20 minutes after he pulled out of the driveway. Then I called the locksmith. I changed every lock in the house. I packed my things, just the essentials. The rest I left behind like old skin. Then I went to the courthouse and filed the papers. Restraining order, divorce, all of it in one sweep. Dana filed the notice to his office. He wouldn't even know until he checked his email. I was sitting in a small motel room when I got the call. He didn't scream. He said 6 words. "You're going to regret this, Anna." And I said, "I already regret staying." He didn't respond. That was the last time I heard his voice. He tried to fight the divorce, claimed I was unstable, said I was emotionally abusive, said I was hiding money, but he had no evidence. I had everything: my list, my receipts, my account statements. I had the kids on my side. I had the truth. The judge saw through him. So did everyone else. His charm didn't work anymore. He was just another bitter man trying to control what he no longer owned. I didn't celebrate when the divorce was finalized. I didn't throw a party or take a trip. I just sat in my new apartment on the couch I bought with my own money and listened to the quiet. It was the first real peace I'd had in years. But that's not where it ended, because he found someone new, a woman 10 years younger than me, and he did to her what he did to me. Only this time she fought back. She contacted me, said she'd heard what I'd been through, asked if I could help. So I did. I gave her everything: my list, my notes, my lawyer's number. I told her exactly how to get out before it was too late. She got out in 6 months. He lost everything, again, and now he's alone. I'm not. I have my name back, my voice, my children, my freedom. I even started laughing again, not because everything's perfect, but because I'm no longer afraid. So when people ask me if I regret anything, I say no, not anymore. 3 months after the divorce, I ran into him at the grocery store. I was standing in the frozen food aisle, deciding between spinach and broccoli, when I heard the sound of his shoes. I knew that walk too well, that rhythm, deliberate, heavy, entitled. I didn't turn. I waited. I wanted to see what he would do. He stopped 2 feet behind me and said, "You look different." I turned slowly, holding a bag of frozen peas, like a weapon I might throw. "I do?" "You cut your hair." He said it like it was a betrayal, like my hair belonged to him. "I did," I said. It was weighing me down. He didn't laugh. He scanned my face like he was trying to find something: regret, maybe, fear, but there was nothing for him, not anymore. "I didn't think you'd be living around here," he said. "Why? You thought I'd run?" He didn't answer, just stared for a moment too long, then said, "You've changed." I smiled. That was the point. He reached out like he was going to touch my arm, and I stepped back, not fast, just enough, just to let him know I didn't want his hands near me ever again. "I'm sorry," he said. I believe he meant it, but I also believe he didn't understand what he was apologizing for. He was sorry he got caught, sorry I had the strength to leave, sorry he lost. "You should go," I said, before I remember all the things I forgot to tell my lawyer. That made him blink, just once. Then he turned and walked away. I stood there holding frozen peas, breathing in and out, counting the seconds. I didn't cry. I didn't panic. I didn't even shake. I just went back to shopping. That was the day I realized the fear was truly gone. You don't know how loud silence can be until you live with a man like Patrick for 25 years, and then you spend one night alone, and it's so quiet your ears ring, but you get used to it. You start to crave it. I started doing things I hadn't done in years. I took a pottery class. I was terrible at it. My bowls came out lopsided. My cups couldn't hold water without leaking, but I loved it. My hands covered in clay, the instructor's voice soft and patient, nobody yelling, nobody sighing heavily because I wasn't doing it right. Just simple, messy creation. I started cooking for one. At first, it felt wrong. I'd always made too much food, leftovers that sat in the fridge because he didn't believe in reheating things. Now I made one perfect plate. I lit a candle. I poured a glass of wine. I played music I liked, and I ate alone in peace. I learned that loneliness and solitude aren't the same thing. Molly came over one night, saw the candle on the table and said, "Are you seeing someone?" I laughed. "I'm seeing myself." She smiled and sat down. About time. I didn't date right away. I wasn't ready. People kept telling me to get back out there. I wasn't interested in getting anywhere except free. And then Jacob moved back in with me for a while. He'd broken up with his girlfriend, needed a place to stay. We became roommates in the best way. He cooked breakfast, I made dinner. We talked like equals. One night he said, "I wish I'd known sooner what was really going on when I was a kid." "You weren't supposed to," I said. "That was my job, to protect you." "But who was protecting you?" he asked. I didn't have an answer. Maybe no one was, or maybe I just didn't let anyone. But that changed too. I made friends, real friends, women who'd been through it. One had been married to a pastor, another to a cop, another to a man everyone called a pillar of the community. We shared stories, swapped names of lawyers and therapists, gave each other strength. One night, one of them asked me, "If you could go back, what would you tell your 30-year-old self?" I thought for a long time. I said, "You're not crazy, you're just being slowly erased. And if you don't fight for your own voice, no one else." They nodded. They knew. Patrick tried to ruin my name after I left. He told people I was unstable, said I had mood swings, that I was bitter, that I wanted revenge. He was half right. I was bitter, but not because I wanted revenge. I wanted recognition. I wanted someone to look at me and say, "What happened to you was real." I wanted my years back, my laughter, my trust in myself. I didn't want to hurt him. I just wanted him to stop hurting me. But when he started dating again, I knew he'd repeat the cycle, so I made sure he could. I left anonymous reviews under his name on dating forums. Not lies, just the truth. I told stories about his temper, about how he isolated me, about how charming he was in public, and how cruel he was in private. I wasn't the only one. Other women found the thread. One said he'd ghosted her after she asked about his divorce. Another said he tried to control what she wore on their second date. Another said he raised his voice at a waitress, and she walked out mid-meal. It added up. I didn't need to burn his life down. I just had to shine a light on it. He called Molly one night, furious, demanded to know if I was trying to destroy him. She told him, "You did that all by yourself, Dad." He hasn't called since. Sometimes, revenge isn't loud. It isn't fire or screaming or broken windows. Sometimes revenge is quiet. It's a woman sitting alone at a dinner table, eating steak she cooked for herself, lighting a candle and playing music she loves. It's a phone that doesn't ring anymore. It's peace that doesn't need to be earned. It's knowing he can't reach you. Not really, not ever again. And that's the part they don't understand. We don't want to win. We just want it to be over. After the silence settled in, I started noticing the smallest things again. The sound of birds in the morning, the way the sun hit my living room floor around 10 a.m., the smell of clean laundry. I know it sounds simple, but for years, I lived in a fog. Nothing felt vivid. It all just blurred together under the weight of his moods, his words, his presence. Now I could breathe. I mean really breathe. I started volunteering at a women's shelter. It wasn't planned. I had donated some old clothes, and one of the women working there struck up a conversation. She asked me what I did with my time, and I said, "I'm trying to figure that out." She smiled and said, "You should come back, talk to the women here. They'll understand you." I didn't think I had anything useful to offer. I wasn't a counselor or a therapist, but the first time I sat in that circle, something opened in me. I told them what it was like to live with someone who made me question my reality, how I'd stand in the kitchen, holding my breath, trying to guess whether today would be good or bad based on how he closed the door, how I used to second-guess myself constantly. Was I overreacting? Was I too sensitive? Maybe I had said something the wrong way. Their eyes didn't judge. They nodded. One woman reached out and took my hand. I didn't feel broken anymore. I felt useful. I kept going back. I shared my story over and over, and every time it hurt less. I learned theirs too. The things people survive, you wouldn't believe, but you would, if you've lived it. And somewhere in that room, I found a version of myself I thought I'd lost. Her name was Anna. She used to be funny, smart, a little stubborn. She loved puzzles and murder mysteries and lemon bars. She was good with her hands and bad with taking compliments. She hadn't gone anywhere. She was just buried under years of being told she was wrong. I started piecing her back together. One evening, I stayed late after a group session. A younger woman, maybe 30, pulled me aside. She had bruises on her arms, barely fading. She looked at me like I was a map and said, "How do you know when it's time to leave?" I said, "When staying costs you more than leaving ever could." She cried. I held her. I didn't tell her what to do. I just reminded her that she mattered. That was enough. That same night, I went home and opened my closet. I took out a box I hadn't looked at since the divorce. It was filled with those old post-it notes Patrick used to write me in the early days. I'd saved them like love letters. At the time, they felt real. Now they felt like lies wrapped in ribbon. I held the one that said, "You make me better," and I whispered, "No, I just made you seem better." Then I dropped them all in the trash. I didn't burn them. I didn't need to. Letting go quietly felt more powerful than setting anything on fire. Sometimes I wonder what people think when they look at me now, if they can tell what I've been through, if they see the strength or just the age. But here's the truth. I don't care anymore. I spent too many years trying to be what someone else needed me to be. Pleasant, agreeable, small. Now, I take up space. I speak when I want. I laugh out loud in public. And if I see a man like Patrick across a room, I don't shrink. I stare back. I took a solo trip for the first time in my life. Drove up the coast by myself. Stayed in a little inn overlooking the ocean. I brought books and journals and snacks. I turned off my phone. I sat on the balcony and listened to the waves. One night, I wrote a letter, not to him, to myself. I wrote, "You did not fail, you survived, and now you're living." I folded it and tucked it into the back of a novel I left behind on purpose. Maybe someone else will find it. Maybe it'll reach the right hands. Because that's the thing I've learned about women like me. We aren't just survivors. We're messengers. We carry stories like torches, lighting the path for the ones still trapped in the dark. And yes, I still get angry. I still think about all the time I lost. But I don't let it poison me. I don't let it steal what's left. Revenge was never about hurting him. Revenge was becoming everything he tried to convince me I could never be. Strong, happy, whole. I didn't need to raise my voice. I just needed to raise myself. Jacob moved out again last spring. He found a place downtown with some friends from college. Before he left, he hugged me longer than usual and said, "I'm proud of you, Mom." Those words undid me. Not in a loud way, not with tears. Just a quiet shift inside my chest, because for so long, I thought being a good mother meant hiding pain, protecting them from it. But maybe what mattered more was showing them how to rise from it. Molly visits every Sunday. She brings pastries and stories from her life. Things she never used to tell me when Patrick was around. We talk like friends now. One day she said, "You know, I used to think love looked like Dad." I looked at her, and she added, "But now I think it looks like you. What you've built. How you walk into a room like you belong there." That stayed with me. I didn't always belong in the rooms I walked into. For years, I sat at tables where I was only welcome as long as I stayed quiet, where opinions were interruptions, where kindness was currency, and I was always overpaying. Not anymore. I redecorated the house. Not the old one, I sold that. Too much history. I bought a small place with lots of light and big windows. Every piece of furniture I picked out myself. No one told me what color couch to get. No one rolled their eyes when I hung up artwork I liked. It's not just a house. It's mine. Every inch of it. There's a photo on my desk now. Me, Molly, and Jacob. We're laughing. Genuinely laughing. And I'm in the middle, holding a glass of wine. Head tilted back. You can see it in my eyes. I came back. That woman in the photo. That's the one he tried to erase. I got a call from his second ex about a month ago, the woman he dated after me. She just wanted to say thank you. He never laid a hand on me, she said, but he tried to do the same things he did to you. Only this time, I had your words in my head, so I left. I didn't need thanks, but hearing her voice, hearing that she got out sooner, it felt like closure, not just for me, for all of us, because that's what abusers count on. Silence, isolation, shame. They make you feel like you're the only one, like you're crazy, like maybe it really is your fault. But when you speak, when you tell your story, you shatter that illusion. You remind other women that they're not alone, and that might be the most dangerous thing you can do to a man like him. Make other women harder to break. I don't look over my shoulder anymore. I don't check my phone expecting venom. I don't hold my breath when I hear a key turn in a lock. I live without waiting for the next blow, spoken or unspoken. And I didn't know what freedom really felt like until it became ordinary. Until it was just Tuesday morning and I was walking to the coffee shop, breathing crisp air, nodding hello to the barista who knows my name. Until it was quiet evenings with a book and no tension hiding in the corners of the room. Until it was boring, beautiful peace. That's what revenge really is. Not the dramatic confrontations or screaming matches. Not taking him down or watching him suffer. It's surviving him. It's thriving without him. It's building a life so full and calm and yours that there's no more space for his name. I get asked sometimes if I'll ever fall in love again. Maybe, maybe not. I'm not in a rush. I'm not lonely. What I have now is enough, because I finally love the woman I live with every day. Me, I know what she's been through. I know how hard she fought to get here. I know how much she lost, and I know how much she saved. She's the kind of woman who doesn't flinch anymore. The kind who chooses her peace over someone else's approval. The kind who, when asked, "What would you have done differently?" answers, "Left sooner maybe, but I left." That's what matters. That's what will always matter. I left, and I never went back.